The Shah Mosque, also known as Imam Mosque, renamed after the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, and Jaame Abbasi Mosque, is a mosque in Isfahan, Iran, standing in south side of Naghsh-e Jahan Square. Built during the Safavid period, or ordered by the first Shah Abbas of Persia. The mosque has also been called Jameh Mosque of Isfahan over the course of years. It is regarded as one of the masterpieces of Iranian, Persian architecture and an excellent example of Islamic-era architecture of Iran. The Shah Mosque of Isfahan is one of the everlasting masterpieces of architecture in Iran. It is registered, along with the Naghsh-e Jahan Square, as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its construction began in 1611, and its splendor is mainly due to the beauty of its 7-color mosaic tiles and calligraphic inscriptions. The mosque is one of the treasures featured on Around the World in 80 Treasures presented by the architecture historian Dan Cruikshank. The mosque is depicted on the reverse of the Iranian 20,000 rials banknote. History. In 1598, when Shah Abbas decided to move the capital of his Persian Empire from the northwestern city of Kazvin to the central city of Isfahan, he initiated what would become one of the greatest programs in Persian history, the complete remaking of this ancient city, by choosing the central city of Isfahan, fertilized by the Zayanda River, lying as an oasis of intense cultivation in the midst of a vast area of arid landscape. He both distanced his capital from any future assaults by Iran's neighboring arch-rival, the Ottomans, and at the same time gained more control over the Persian Gulf, which had recently become an important trading route for the Dutch and British East India Companies. The chief architect of this colossal task of urban planning was Sheikh Bahai, who focused the program on two key features of Shah Abbas's master plan: the Chaharbagh Avenue, flanked at either side by all the prominent institutions of the city, such as the residences of all foreign dignitaries, and the Naghsh-e Jahan Square. Prior to the Shah's ascent to power, Persia had a decentralized power structure, in which different institutions battled for power, including both the military and governors of the different provinces making up the empire. Shah Abbas wanted to undermine this political structure, and the recreation of Isfahan as a grand capital of Persia was an important step in centralizing the power. The ingenuity of the square, or Maidan, was that, by building it, Shah Abbas would gather the three main components of power in Persia in his own backyard: the power of the clergy, represented by the Masjid-e-Shah; the power of the merchants, represented by the Imperial Bazaar; and of course, the power of the Shah himself, residing in the Ali Qapu Palace. The crown jewel in this project was the Masjid-e-Shah, which would replace the much older Jameh Mosque in conducting the Friday prayers. To achieve this, the Shah Mosque was constructed not only with vision of grandeur, having the largest dome in the city, but Sheikh Bahai also planned the construction of two religious schools and a winter mosque clamped at either side of it. Because of the Shah's desire to have the building completed during his lifetime, shortcuts were taken in the construction. For example, the Shah ignored warnings by one of the architects, Abul Qasim, regarding the danger of subsidence in the foundations of the mosque, and he pressed ahead with the construction. The architect proved to have been justified, as in 1662 the building had to undergo major repairs. Also, the Persians invented a new style of tile mosaic that was both cheaper and quicker, and that eventually sped up the construction. This job was masterly done by some of the best craftsmen in the country, and the whole work was supervised by master calligrapher Reza Abbasi. In the end, the final touches on the mosque mosque were made in late 1629, few months after the death of the Shah. Also, many historians have wondered about the peculiar orientation of the royal square. Unlike most buildings of importance, this square did not lie in alignment with Mecca, so that when entering the entrance portal of the mosque, one makes, almost without realizing it, the half-right turn, which enables the main court within to face Mecca. Donald Wilber gives the most plausible explanation to this. The vision of Sheikh Baha'i was for the mosque to be visible wherever in the maiden a person was situated. Had the axis of the maiden coincided with the axis of Mecca, the dome of the mosque would have been concealed from view by the towering entrance portal leading to it. By creating an angle between them, the two parts of the building, the entrance portal and the dome, are in perfect view for everyone within the square to admire. Architecture and design. The 4E1 style. The Safavids founded the Shah Mosque as a channel through which they could express themselves with the numerous architectural techniques. The 4E1 format, finalized by the Seljuk dynasty and inherited by the Safavids, firmly established the courtyard facade of such mosques, with the towering gateways at every side, as more important than the actual building itself. During Seljuk rule, as Islamic mysticism was on the rise and Persians were looking for a new type of architectural design that emphasized an Iranian identity, the 4E1 arrangement took form. The Persians already had a rich architectural legacy, and the distinct shape of the E1 was actually taken from earlier Sassanid palace designs, such as the Palace of Ardashir. Thus, Islamic architecture witnessed the emergence of a new brand that differed from the hypo-style design of the early Arab mosques, such as the Umayyad Mosque. The 4E1 format typically took the form of a square-shaped, central courtyard with large entrances at each side, giving the impression of being gateways to the spiritual world. Standing in the public square, or maiden, the entrance E1 to the mosque takes the form of a semicircle, resembling a recessed half-moon and measuring 27 meters in height. The arch framed by turquoise ornament and decorated with rich stalactite tilework, a distinct feature of Persian Islamic architecture. At the sides rise two minarets, 42 meters high, topped by beautifully carved wooden balconies with stalactites running down the sides. Master calligrapher of the royal court, Reza Abbasi, inscribed the date of the groundbreaking of the construction, and besides it, the verses praising Muhammad and Ali. In the middle, in front of the entrance, stood a small pool and a resting place for the horses, and inside the worshippers found a large marble basin set on a pedestal, filled with fresh water lemonade. This basin still stands as it has for 400 years, but no longer serves the function of providing refreshments to the worshippers at the Friday prayers. When passing through the entrance portal, one reaches the main courtyard, centered around a large pool. The two gateways on the sides leads one's attention to the main gateway at the far end, the only one with minarets, and behind it the lofty dome, with its colorful ornamentation. The distinct feature of any mosque is the minaret, and the Masjid-e-Shah has four. Still, in Persian mosques, tall minarets were considered unsuitable for the call to prayer, and they would add an edicule, known in Persian as a goldast, for this particular purpose, which in the Masjid-e-Shah stands on top of the west E1. Religious buildings inside, the acoustic properties and reflections at the central point under the dome is an amusing interest for many visitors, as the ingenuity of the architects, when creating the dome, enables the imam to speak with a subdued voice and still be heard clearly by everyone inside the building. The mihrab, a large marble tablet 10 feet tall and 3 feet wide on the southwestern wall, indicated the direction of Mecca. Above it the Shah's men had placed a gold-encrusted cupboard of alawwood. It held two relics, a Quran said to have been copied by Imam Reza, and a blood-stained robe of Imam Hussein. Although never displayed, the robe was said to have magical powers, lifted on the end of a pike in the battlefield. The belief was that it could rout an enemy. For the main courtyard, the E1 pointing to east contained a religious school, or madrasa. It contains an inscription by calligrapher Muhammad Reza Imami praising the 14 Immaculate Ones. The E1 in the western corner leads to another madrasa and a winter mosque. In its own private courtyard, one can find the famous sundial made by Sheikh Bahai. The dome is with iwans. The introduction of domes into Islamic architectural designs was done by the Persians. The oldest such building is the Grand Mosque of Zavareh, dating 1135. The Persians had constructed such domes for centuries before, and some of the earliest known examples of large-scale domes in the world are found in Iran, an example being the Maiden Castle. So, the Safavid Muslims borrowed heavily from pre-Islamic knowledge in dome building, i.e., the use of squinches to create a transition from an octagonal structure into a circular dome. To cover up these transition zones, the Persians built rich networks of stalactites. Thus came also the introduction of this feature into Persian mosques. A renaissance in Persian dome building was initiated by the Safavids. The distinct feature of Persian domes, which separates them from those domes created in the Christian world of the Ottoman and Mughal empires, was the colorful tiles, with which they covered the exterior of the domes, as they would on the interior. These domes soon numbered dozens in Isfahan, and a distinct, blue-colored shape would dominate the skyline of the city, reflecting the light of the sun. These domes appeared like glittering turquoise gems and could be seen from miles away by travelers following the Silk Road through Persia, reaching 53 meters in height. The dome of the Masjid-e-Shah would become the tallest in the city when it was finished in 1629. It was built as a double-shell dome, with 14 meters spanning between the two layers, and resting on an octagonal dome chamber. The Masjid-e-Shah was a huge structure, said to contain 18 million bricks and 475,000 tiles, having cost the Shah 60,000 tomans to build. It employed the new Naghsh-e style of tile mosaic. In earlier Iranian mosques the tiles had been made of faience mosaic, a slow and expensive process where tiny pieces are cut from monochrome tiles and assembled to create intricate designs. In the Naghsh-e method, artisans put on all the colors at once, then fired the tile. Cheaper and quicker, the new procedure allowed a wider range of colors to be used, creating richer patterns, sweeter to the eye. According to Jean Chardin, it was the low humidity in the air in Persia that made the colors so much more vivid and the contrasts between the different patterns so much stronger than what could be achieved in Europe, where the colors of tiles turned dull and lost its appearance. Still, most contemporary and modern writers regard the tile work of the Masjid-e-Shah as inferior in both quality and beauty compared to those covering the Lot Fawla Mosque, the latter often referred to by contemporary Persian historians, such as Iskander Munshi, as the Mosque of Great Purity and Beauty. The architects also employed a great deal of marble, which they gathered from a marble quarry in nearby Ardestan. Throughout the building, for the entrance portal and the main building, the lower 2 meters of the walls are covered with beige marble, with beautifully carved pearls at each side of every doorway and carved inscriptions throughout. Above this level begins the mosaic tiles that cover the rest of the building. The entrance portal of the mosque displays the finest tile decoration in the building. It is entirely executed in tile mosaic mosaic in a full palette of 7 colors. A wide inscription band with religious texts written in white Thuluth script on a dark blue ground frames the Iwan. The tiles in the Masjid-e-Shah are predominantly blue, except in the covered halls of the building, which were later revetted in tiles of cooler, yellowy-green shades. Facing northwards, the mosque's portal to the Maiden is usually under shadow, but since it has been coated with radiant tile mosaics, it glitters with a predominantly blue light of extraordinary intensity. The ornamentation of the structures is utterly traditional, as it recaptures the classic Iranian motifs of symbolic appeal for fruitfulness and effectiveness. Within the symmetrical arcades and the balanced Iwans, one is drowned by the endless waves of intricate arabesque in gold and yellow and dark blue, which bless the spectator with a space of internal serenity. Architects. The architect of the mosque is reported to be Ustad Ali Akbar Isfahani. Measurements. The port of the mosque measures 27 meters high, crowned with 2 minarets 42 meters tall. The mosque is surrounded with 4 iwans and arcades. All the walls are ornamented with 7-color mosaic tile. The most magnificent Iwan of the mosque is the one facing the Qibla, measuring 33 meters high. Behind this Iwan is a space which is roofed with the largest dome in the city at 52 meters height. The dome is double-layered. The whole of the construction measures 100 by 130 meters, with the central courtyard measuring 70 by 70 meters. Photo gallery. Panoramic view. 360-degree view of the mosque and the Naghsh-e Jahan Square at night.